Nationals hinting that if given a third term, low and middle incomers would benefit. Labor's got their policies, Greens and ACT as well. Let's start with you, Carmel. David Parker is also looking at tax cuts, isn't he?
Is he?
I think so, isn't he?
Whoa, hang on, stop the press.
Or is he? Should they be?
Should we be looking at?
Yeah,
Because like
well, let's just go back and then look at the National Party tax cuts, because in 2008, when they got in, they said they would give tax cuts to the low to middle income earners.
And we did.
Don't
you did.
But don't we
and you
deserve
also said that you wouldn't raise GST.
No, no, that's
but
not true.
you did.
That's not true.
And then the tax cuts were not supposed to go to the most wealthy, but then years later, they went to the most wealthy. And how were they offset? They were offset by the increase in GST that had the most impact on the lowest income earners. So I just think if it's done in a way that is responsible, when it is a responsible time to do it, that's okay. But now is not the time.
What about that, Chris?
This is hilarious. I mean, this is just like David Cunliffe last night at the press debate. Asked a question about his own capital gains tax policy. Couldn't answer a question about it.
What are your
Carmel doesn't
policies?
know.
What are yours?
Well, our policies are that that the Prime Minister has signalled that we do want to give tax relief
Not what Bill
in the
English
next
says.
No, that's exactly what Bill English says in the next 3 years, because we're now back in surplus. And once you're in surplus, you have choices as a government about what you do with that money.
So you
save
spent years of proclaiming fiscal restraint, and now all of a sudden, a couple of weeks out of the election, you're giving us lollies.
No. Well, firstly, it's not a lolly scramble to give people their own money back. That's not a lolly scramble.
But where are you taking it from?
We've got serious slow income growth. How can you justify giving us tax cuts now?
Well, we can justify it because the fiscal projections are that the surpluses ramp up over the next 3 or 4 years, and there is some room for modest tax relief. Not a spend-a-thon like Greens and the Labor want to do,
what's modest? What's modest? Give us a figure.
Well, I'm not the Minister of Finance, sadly, but you'll see our fiscal plans in the next week or so. You'll see our fiscal plans.
What do you reckon?
Oh, well, look, the tax switch that Carmel described, raising GST, dropping income taxes, resulted in an effective tax cut for the wealthiest New Zealanders of $1.1 billion a year. Now, that compares with, say, $100 million that district health boards were short-funded last year. So that tax cut would have paid for the health funding shortfall 10 times over. So National has paid for its tax cuts by borrowing and by sacrificing health and education services.
No, I tell you how you pay. I tell you how those tax cuts were paid for. It was tightening the rules on investment property, which is exactly what the Greens want to do. And that
has
affected
borrowed
the rich
more
more
money
than anyone
than
else.
every government
This is hilarious. Sorry, you guys have spent the last 6 years saying to us that we were not borrowing enough. And now you have the temerity to complain about how much we've borrowed. It's absolutely ridiculous.
All right, we're going to do it very, very soon. What does the ACT Party want to do with you want to drop the top tax rate to what about?
They want no tax.
24.
24?
Yep, and we've shown how you can do that.
How are we going to pay for the rubbish collection or the police force?
Well, that's a council issue, so I don't think we'd have to worry about that, would we? But look, when you've got a surplus, Wallace, you can do 3 things. You can drop taxes, you can pay off debt, or you can buy an election. These guys want to buy an election. We want... No, I was pointing just at these two. You're okay, Chris. We want to actually cut taxes. Why? For a very simple reason. It's actually a moral issue. Is that if
it's
you
a moral issue.
How is it a moral issue? If you earn $10,000, you pay 10%. That's $1,000. If you earn $100,000, you pay 10%. That's $10,000. That's fair. But to whack people with higher and higher rates as they earn more is to say.
Let me ask you.
There we go. Yep.
What is the top tax rate in the US?
The top tax rate in the US is far too high. And here's the next question.
So the free world is too high.
Well,
in the US?
The US is not a policy model that we wish to follow.
Really?
No.
That's right.
Okay, Kevin.
Actually, New Zealand has one of the lowest top tax rates in the OECD. If we adopted the Green Party
Spain and Italy
of
and all these
increasing the top tax rate to 40%, it would still be one of the lowest quarter of top tax rates in the OECD. And that top tax rate would be recycled entirely to pay for child poverty alleviation measures.
If you want to pay less tax, put your hands up. If you want to pay more tax, put your hands up. Or if you think you're paying around about right, put your hands up.
That's not 50-50.
Who didn't answer the question? You didn't answer the question at all, did you? Why didn't you answer your question?
I don't think the camera could see my answers.
I'm watching everybody. Do you think we should pay more tax, less tax, or about the same?
More tax.
How come?
I think that I would like to pay more portion of my income to helping those lesser off than me.
You could just do what David... That's very good. David Seymour would say, if I'm just channeling David for a second, you can do that right now. Just give it to someone right now. Just give it to the person next to you.
Have you?
That's fine, but private charities force me to choose individual issues. I think a government is far better placed to distribute that across better issues and more diverse ones. So.
There you go. Turns out, no hands in the air doesn't mean no opinion. And Chris Bishop, nice work on the temerity there, my son. Just very, very quickly, this chap over here yelled out, no GST. Well, lower GST, sorry.
I said that National should cut GST. If they want to make tax cuts, then they've increased GST. Let's just put it back.
People moan about tax all the time. So much money comes out. Why not just sort of just reward hard-working people?
Hard-working people are the people that are on the minimum wage as well. So they are working hard and they are earning very low incomes, and yet they can't put food on the table or they can't put a roof over their head.